which was really successful. It was the first solo workshop I've done on my own. I facilitated and wrote it and ran it, and it was awesome. And I got a men's group going out of it, which was really showed that I created a lot of value for them. They're like really into what we covered and what I taught. So that was great. So I'm going to do another one in January. What else is going on? We also went into another cycle with my other company, All True Center, and we had a really big training. And next week we're doing our part 2, which is also going to be really big. It might be our biggest one yet. So that's awesome.
It's going to be huge. It's going to be big. It's going to be world class.
It's going to be the greatest, biggest ever.
It's going to be the biggest ever.
So,
and if you don't come, you're fired.
You're beautiful. So yeah, all that's going wonderfully, and then last week I'm celebrating spending a really nice week with my dad. It's the longest time I've ever stayed with him. It was like 6 days, and we got along really well, and it was awesome. Actually, so I had a good time. Unfortunately, I also gained 3 pounds in 1 week.
I don't know. Is that really that unfortunate, or did you actually enjoy gaining those 3 pounds?
I did enjoy. I had steak 3 days in a row.
Oh, now we're talking. Yeah.
The bourbon was flowing, and it was great to kick back. And it's like in the 90s down there. It's still summer, so I got to go to the beach, which was pretty sweet, actually. It's like cold in New York, so that was.
Oh, come on! It's brisk in New York. It's not
nice,
quite
actually.
cold.
Today's beautiful. I got back and it was like dreary rain. I was like, oh man, maybe 92 degrees isn't so bad.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Let's hear it. Let's hear it for Rob. I love all of that, except that weren't you supposed to reach out to me and we were supposed to connect up?
We were, but I focused on my dad. So I'm actually coming down to Florida
again
every 2 months for the next 10 months.
Nice.
So,
nice. Well, Al's just east of where you're at as well, so you can always meet up with Al as well, possibly. So
cool. Where are you, Al? Where is he?
I'm in South Miami Beach.
Oh, okay.
South Miami Beach.
Cool.
Yeah. So very good. Who else? Who else has got celebrations?
I'll share one.
Okay.
Everybody's frozen.
Well, we can see you.
What's going on?
We have you.
Well, she's failing again. I can jump in instead.
Okay, let's hear it.
No, we'll give her a chance.
I think that she's having a rolling power outage in in Central California.
I'll be real quick. I'm celebrating that my website, my wellness directory that I've been working on for years and years and years is finally going to be launched. Hopefully today, potentially tomorrow, and I'll do a demo next week.
Let's hear it. I love it. Yes. The launch of greatness is about to embark and capture the world by storm. It's going to be great. It's going to be world class. It's going to be amazing.
It is going to be amazing.
and if there's any negative publicity, it's fake news.
So thank you for that, because it's true. It's the alternative to Facebook.
It's the alternative to Facebook.
Yeah,
how many of you all are looking for an alternative to Facebook?
This morning I was reading some article. I'm like, I want to delete my account. Actually, watching Zuckerberg yesterday made me want to delete my account. But,
see, I just don't bother. I just don't turn that stuff on. So
yeah.
if you live in the Are you considered Middle East, Hassan? Yeah, I was going to say you're in the Middle East. If you live over there, then you have other rhetoric to tune into. But when they want entertainment, then they turn on our politics here. So gives them a good laugh.
That's for the entire world, not just the
That's
Middle.
right. So what is this directory going to do to support the world?
So basically, I've been on a mission for the last 18 years. I'll show you my video for a second. I'm cleaning up my office, so it's a bit of a mess. I have a special event tonight.
Gosh, really?
Wow. Yeah, I have a special event tonight, and so I need to take care of things. So it's interesting. I've always identified the problem that the consumer has a hard time connecting with the wellness provider, and the value of having that connection is preventing them or avoiding the need to see a doctor. So on many levels, it's all about wellness. So working with this for the last 18 years in essence, and now finally coming up to with the help with Erin, which was amazing, and also the help with Christiana, she's not here, to kind of formulate what does this look like. And so it evolved into basically a social platform that people can connect primarily for wellness. I mean, I'm sure it's going to evolve into other things too, but it's the primary is for wellness and to help people come up with wellness solutions. So really excited about that, and we'll probably do a demo once I populate enough next week or something. So
awesome. So this is about the transition and evolution from the hard sciences and integrating the best of both worlds in the medical world. Is that correct, Bart?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I think a lot of it's still empirical. A lot of it is still non-scientific, but it's based on experience. I mean, when you think of acupuncture, I mean, that's 5,000 years of experiments, and they've just classified it correctly. So I find that valid enough. I mean, it's not necessarily based in science yet. I mean, quite a bit is, but quite a bit is not. And so in essence, really, I'm not being the gatekeeper in any shape or form. It's just that I'm making it a lot easier for people to find the right kind of people, the right kind of services for the problems that they have. And so it's a social dynamic where they can ask questions, people can give answers, and that kind of stuff. And it's really tailored to, optimizing your health. And so really excited about that. And you guys will be the first to be invited to the platform, by the way, just to check it out and see how you want to contribute.
Awesome. All right, one more round of applause for Bart. I love it.
Thank you.
Very awesome, very cool. All right, Katie's roving power outage is complete, and we are ready for you.
Thank you. Yeah, one quick celebration. As I've been working on my goals for 2020, some of the things that have come up are both like going deeper in my relationships and then also having a spiritual element to that as well. And one of the things that I realized I struggled with spiritually this last year is I have my jiu-jitsu community, which I've wanted to invest a lot of time in with those women. But then that's left me kind of like, well, I don't want to dive into like a spiritual community just for the sake of checking a box, and kind of have my feet in both, if that makes sense. But anyway, so I've just been praying about that. And this last week have had a few different interactions where I've run into some of my jiu-jitsu friends, female friends at church, and we didn't know we went to the same church. They just started going to the one that I'm at. And then also being intentional about spending time together outside of the gym. And so I'm just celebrating that as I set that intention these last few weeks. I'm already seeing opportunities where it's starting. And so I'm excited to keep cultivating that this next year.
Awesome. Love it. Let's hear it. All of it. I love that you're being deliberate about what community in what spending time with people is really about for you, rather than, as you said, just jumping in for the sake of oh, okay, here's this kind of community. So really being clear, what is it that I want to get out of it? What is it that they're contributing? What am I receiving? And what am I contributing? So very cool. Anybody else? Awesome. Okay, so we have been talking about what for the last several weeks?
Setting goals so that way we can kick 2020 off.
And setting goals in what manner? How have we been setting goals?
Like being intentional about what we need to prepare now so that way we can get started in January rather than trying to play catch up.
So what does that look like? Give me an example of what that sounds like or looks like for somebody, for yourself or just generically.
Well, for me, it's looked like identifying the areas that I want to grow in for next year, or what the areas, the different components of my life are, and then setting specific goals in each one of those categories. And then also working from there of, okay, now I have these goals, what do I need to have in place in order to hit the ground running in January? So
okay. Great, that's good there. Anybody else have a different perspective on what they've walked away with in the last couple of weeks?
Hit the ground running. Like, I mean, be able to start off 2020, at, full speed, and be really rooted in your goals and have your whys and your purpose very well clarified. Be able to structure your goals in such a way that you have as much leverage on yourself as possible.
Great. So who feels like you've got some level of success in that? You're getting some clarity on who you want to become by the end of 2020. You've got some ideas on the purpose, and you have some ideas of what the vehicles or the goals are that will get you there. Katie's all alone. Awesome.
Yeah,
so this is obviously a gender issue. Ben, you just got your ass handed to you. That's all
Me
I'm
too.
telling you.
I'm male, so I'm not part of it.
I was going to say, you're just going to prove his point, Bart.
Yeah. Okay.
You can go.
So what are those three things that we have? The first is,
what's the outcome?
Who do you want to become by the end of 2019? For me, it was, who do I want to become by the age of 70? That's now my vision and my target. Okay, shut up, Katie. I'm not even going to say hold it to yourself or be quiet. I'm just straight up. Second, what are the goals? Or actually, second is, what's the strength of the purpose to motivate you, to inspire you, to aspire you, or to keep you on that track in the next year? And third, then, what are some tangible to-dos, activities, behavior, things that you need to do, goals that actually you can attribute that would help you say, yeah, this is showing that I'm on track? Any questions about those three first?
You were using the word vehicles and goals like interchangeably. Do you mean,
yeah.
Do you think of a goal as a vehicle?
What do you think?
To your destination? Is that what you're
so
saying?
that's raising a question in your mind. What's going on in your mind that you're looking for some clarity on that, Al?
No, sometimes there's nuances in the way you talk about things, and trying to catch on to why you chose that nuance of using vehicle goal together to show that you're on track. What's your vehicle goal to show you're on track?
Yeah, so in this case, I'm using them interchangeably to say, a vehicle could be an exercise machine, just to keep it simple, right? Maybe it's an elliptical. Maybe it's going for a walk. the goal may be to lose X percentage of weight. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay.
So I'm using them interchangeably because they may need to go hand in hand. They may be separate things for you.
Okay. Measurements is part of all this as well, isn't there? That's a number. That's a fourth
Dude,
item.
what are you jumping? Stop being the brown noser jumping ahead. Yes, absolutely. Look at you paying
Okay.
attention.
All right.
So the measurement, how do I like to measure? Two components to measuring.
Well, it depends on what the goal is.
They start with the word or the letter L. Lead
And lag.
Lead and lag.
Lead and lag.
Leading and lagging indicators.
Can I give a nuance on that one? Or
Sure.
ask for, so what if things, can you also measure things that are clearly quantifiable, but some things aren't? Could they just be level of quality?
Say more.
So I struggle sometimes, get my video back on. I struggle sometimes with the idea of, I can quantify it. So the weight is easily quantifiable. Running time is quantifiable. And so that's really easy. Revenue is quantifiable. But then we're also talking becoming and also our experience.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a way to, so I guess my question, is there a solid way to measure experiences that are more of a quality measurement versus a quantity?
So for myself, if it is a what you might call more of an intangible, often
Right.
what I will do is say, how do I want to feel as a result of that experience or as a result of that goal? Or what emotions do I want to capture? Right? So for me, if I want to become somebody that is considered a wise sage leader, then what's the hard line to that? Well, if I actually said, well, a leading indicator would be people are coming to me,
Right.
that might be okay. Depends on the caliber of those people coming to ask. The second would be if I measure it as the answers that I give, well, sometimes there is no answer to give. Sometimes not answering it directly is actually exactly what the person needs. So how do you quantify or measure that? Well, it might be the emotions. It might be that they feel served, as an example.
Right.
How about the rest of you guys? How do you guys feel that you can measure something that is a little bit of an intangible?
The first thing that popped in my head, I think it's a really good question, is like how they do measurements in psychology and sociology, which is basically quantifying feelings. So are you satisfied, somewhat satisfied, or dissatisfied, and 1 to 5 kind of thing. And so you could potentially create your own measurement of experience around that model.
How important is that, would you say, Chad, to do that? I mean, we celebrate every day, so that's one process of getting to the outcome, which is feeling good. But is it worthwhile to pay attention to that in a way? Because in my thinking is, whatever we're measuring, we're managing. And so if we're not measuring the qualities of our life, then maybe we're not managing them the way that we need to.
So I almost feel like that was a leading question that you really already know the answer to, and you're just supporting.
No, I don't.
Okay. Okay, so here's the thing. How many of you guys as a kid or have seen a kid or you have a kid or you have abducted a kid for a couple of hours, whatever, have heard the phrase, or you've heard Al say, that's not fair? Look, what? How many of you guys have heard a kid say, "That's not fair"?
Yeah.
How many of you believe that you are free? Freedom is a choice that you have, that you're free. Rob's kind of like, that's more of a trick question.
Yeah.
Well, there's levels of freedom.
Yeah.
Depends
So there's
on what your
levels of
skill is.
freedom. Okay. So is a child free? Does a child have freedom?
It depends on the
They
perspective.
have a freedom within a context.
Tell me more.
They have rules that their parents have established in order to keep them safe, and they can play within those rules.
Okay, is that freedom?
I don't know.
Well, their freedom from work, they don't have to work. you
Okay.
know.
Yeah.
But they have to go to school.
And do homework.
So if you ever told a kid that you're free and they're like, no, I'm not. I don't get to choose what I want to eat for dinner. I don't get to choose what time I go to bed. Have you ever heard those kind of arguments? And you're like, crap, how do I articulate this? So to answer your question, Bart, is in this, I'm going to invite you to look at internal and external measurement. Internal freedom, external freedom. As Viktor Frankl, I'm taking two people, Maslow and Frankl, as Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, a Holocaust survivor, basically articulated, is that there's nothing anybody can do to take away your internal freedom of choice. How you will respond to a stimulus or to a situation or to a decision. Does everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Absolutely.
That sounded like Michelle.
Yeah.
I love how we have people hiding in the bushes. You know, that's awesome. So nobody can rob you. As Eleanor Roosevelt articulated, you must first give your consent. Okay? You have to give your consent. External freedom is a very different scenario. External freedom may be restricted for your own safety, for your own benefit. And Christiana's chewing pleasure as we mute her. So if that's the case, when we're measuring, we have a choice. And which do you value better, more, or in that scenario? Is it an external measurement indicator, or is it an internal measurement? This is how it makes me feel. Externally, it may not be popular. It may not be socially acceptable or appropriate. Does that make sense? So the reason that I say that, Bart, is how many of you have gone down a path of material attainment to achieve a sense of a tipping point of, once I have this, then everything will fall into place, and nirvana and enlightenment and everything will just magically appear, only to get there and go, crap, that did not give me the satisfaction I was looking for.
Right. Many times.
So external measurement is often a symbol of an internal root, something internally that you're looking for, which is, did it meet one of 6 of my human needs? Did it meet a certain emotion and a freedom, or a feeling, rather? That make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why when people are like, oh, that's airy-fairy, that's intangible, or woo-woo, whatever, I will invite them to really say, what you're actually saying is you can't quantify or clarify what that is in the material, so I'm going to invite you to do that from an emotion or feeling. Because from both of those, we can actually say it's meeting a need, a feeling and an emotion. And from there, we can see, does that actually tie to my purpose? So do I think it's important? I think it is absolutely critical because you get 168 hours a week. And if you aren't measuring, you might be pursuing something that is taking you very deeply off track.
So, question then. There's this exercise, I forget the exact name, but it's a vehicle, whatever, for the human needs. So where they actually measure activities and how they satisfy from 0 to 10, how it satisfies those 6 human needs.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something worthwhile for us to work on? Like on a weekly basis? How am I satisfying my needs?
On a weekly basis?
Yeah.
So I will say all of you guys have access to the quiz. It's like 84 questions and comes back and actually gives you, I'm going to say, a fairly accurate order of what your order of those 6 human needs are. So where did the 6 human needs come from? Well, originally they came from Maslow. They were popularized by Erickson. Tony Robbins is now most notably known for those. But it came from the world of psychology. But that actually can go all the way back to the Greeks in philosophy, okay? But there's the quiz, if you haven't taken it, will come back and say, for example, my top 2 drivers, the 2 out of the 6, the 2 that drive which vehicles I like and which things I pursue are growth and contribution to others. The lowest, the least need, there's still a need, but the least one that I need is certainty. Okay? So growth, contribution beyond myself, love/connection, variety, love and connection and variety are like tied for third. Significance and then certainty. Okay? So would an assembly line be a good vehicle for me to choose as a career? Why not?
Because you can't grow with it.
Yeah.
There's not
Okay.
a big contribution.
No
Okay.
variety.
And that's very certain, which is your lowest.
No, he'd be way too distracted seeing how everybody else was screwing it up.
Well, the growth would be fixing the line.
Okay. Al, you had something to contribute?
No, that was it. You said it.
Okay. What if that assembly line stopped making automotive and was actually making,
Guns.
I didn't want to do something that controversial.
Risky.
I was going to say making, military resource, I don't know. But I'm going to say instead, what if that assembly line was making renewable energy hardware? Now am I contributing beyond myself?
Yeah.
What if I was working on the line to keep it going and nobody knows how to fix it? Is that offering growth?
Yeah.
Is that offering variety because it keeps on breaking?
Yep.
So you see how the vehicle making small little shifts in your behavior and what you're doing might align, might drastically not align to meeting your 6 human needs. How about being an entrepreneur? Is that contributing beyond myself?
Yeah.
Does an entrepreneur require growth?
Yep.
Does it require connection with others?
Yes.
Is there variety?
Yes.
Do I need a whole lot of do I need to
Well,
Do I need to
certainty
be-
might-
do I need to be comfortable with uncertainty?
Yes.
How
Mhm.
about being a coach
Yes.
or an Ironman? So you see, if you know your order, then the goals that you're setting and the vehicles that you're using to achieve those goals, Al, you can have a checklist to go, hey, this is something that's probably going to be a good fit for me, or wow, this sounds really good, and I bet you it's going to end in disaster for me and be full of anxiety and pain and suffering. As an example, my wife is about growth and significance and variety. She does not do extremely well in charitable environments where you have to rely on volunteers. Why? Because you can be pretty certain that they're like, oh, it's a volunteer. It's not really important that I honor this commitment. And people break their commitments to volunteer organizations all the time. Okay. So that's part of the measuring. A leading indicator that you can use to say, is the vehicle that I'm using for 2020 going to meet my needs? And is it likely going to be something that is fulfilling? What are the emotions that I can expect as lag indicators through that goal, through that vehicle of choice? Does it make sense?
So what's the hardest thing you ever did? And
Marriage.
how did these 4 things help you through? Well, that's what you're still doing. So tell me something that you've already
Yeah, no, I buried her out in the backyard this morning.
Okay.
Actually, I think she would be on here saying that she's buried me in the backyard this morning. It's the hardest thing she's ever had to do. Easiest thing for me. What's the question? What's the hardest thing I've ever had to take on?
The hardest goal you ever accomplished, and how did these 4 items help you get through it?
Marriage.
Well, that's still an ongoing thing. I don't think it's over with, but
yeah, exactly. That's why it's the hardest thing. Is I have to know the leading and lagging indicators, because if contribution beyond myself and growth are the number 1 and 2, do you get that in a marriage?
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of growth. And one of the primary growth opportunities in that is when you look at marriages that struggle, they're going me, me, me. My needs aren't being met. And you are to blame. You're not doing whatever. Okay? But if it's really about a strong marriage, it's about taking yourself and saying, let me put myself in their shoes. What are their needs? And that's not really easy, especially when that person might be saying, hey, I don't like some of your behavior. Is there variety in a marriage? At first. And then what happens? Then you wake up and you're like, oh, yep, there you are again.
How many years have you been married?
17.
You had a tick when you said that.
17 wonderful, glorious, beautiful years. I am madly in love with my wife. Truly. It is not easy. And you get to different stages and evolutions in that. And if you don't know how to measure those leading and lagging indicators, if you don't know what those leading indicators are, you don't know when you started to take your foot off the gas, Al. And the variety starts to diminish, okay?
So, Chad, what are a couple leading and lagging indicators in your marriage, for example?
Some leading indicators are something that I teach in this program called Language Matters. Mm-hmm. Leading indicators, am I using we or I in you? Am I hearing words like always and never? Those are leading indicators of, okay, we're about to hit some bumpy roads. Are we a team or on separate positions on the field, right? Defense, offense. Am I affirming? Because here's the thing. They've done a ton of research on this. There's 2 kinds of problems in a marriage. Perpetual and solvable. What do you think the ratio of perpetual versus solvable problems are in successful marriages?
70-30.
Successful, I'd say 10-1.
Mm-hmm.
10-1, 70-30. 70-30, 10-1 what? What 10-1
I would say it's a very low percentage of perpetual
Right.
and mostly solvable.
Mostly
Right.
solvable.
Yeah. 10 to
What do
1.
you guys say? Is the ratio mostly in successful marriages that they have a small percentage of perpetual problems?
Yes.
Or,
Yeah.
Well,
guess what?
It's not.
Katie
other
cheats.
way.
Katie cheats.
Yeah.
I told her last week. Believe it or not, in successful marriages, 69% of the time, they have perpetual problems, problems that will never be solved in
Really?
successful marriages. So why are they successful? Not you, Katie.
Because I stick my head in the sand and ignore them.
They have children.
I like Penelope's answer to Rob's.
I would
Because
say it's like,
Michelle.
I'm sorry. I mean, I would say, like, I always thought about it like this, like, if it's problems that you can look at the person and see past them and still be happily married to them, then it's okay. You just kind of, you accept that person for who they are and how they are, and you live with it and you look past it. So you don't really try to solve the problem. You live with it. Like, yeah.
It's about how you respond. As Viktor Frankl says, you have a choice on how you respond. Are you believing in the best or expecting the worst in your partner? The problems will never go away, but good versus bad marriages, it's about how you respond. Are you making it about you, or are you making it about we? So a simple formula on that, a leading indicator of that, if you want to have a amazing relationships, marriage, friendships, business, whatever it is, here's the formula. X, Y, Z. I feel X. When Y, I need Z. I feel X when Y. So I feel amazing when I am affirmed, when I am loved, when I am talked to gently and tenderly. I need that frequently. I need that 3 times a day. You see how that formula works?
Mm-hmm.
How are bad marriages structured? How are bad relationships? Start off with, Christiana, you always leave your shit hanging around in the bathroom when I'm trying to take a shower, and I don't even know how many times I have said, but Freddie is just tired of your shit. Yeah, he calls me and he's like, Chad, what can I do?
I wondered why you were on speed dial.
But Chad, I want to say I appreciate in that first example you gave, the XYZ, that you also gave that example with a positive. You know, when I heard that formula, my first thought was, I feel upset when, blah, blah, blah. But to be able to flip that around too and use that in the affirmative, I think is even more powerful.
Yeah. So notice there's an absence of you. See, I feel X. Here's what happens is people, when Y, they insert the word you. When you, blah, blah, blah. Guess what happens when I say, when Al, you think Al's actually listening, or do you think he's now defending his position? We're just going to pick the crap out of Al today.
It's because of my short haircut.
It's good. I get it. I know. It looks good, man.
Too short, yeah.
Al, it looks good.
Too short. I just came from the Army.
There you go. So here's the point with this. Do you know what kind of relationship you want to have? Do you know who you want to become by the end of this year if we're going to go with relationships? Do you know the purpose, the strength and the purpose behind that? Do you know what the vehicles are that allow that to happen, and the emotions that go with that? And do you have quality leading and lagging indicators? How many of you were handed a manual or can look at your parents and go, man, it's an exceptional template, man. They were amazing in modeling what an amazing marriage could be. You don't need to answer that because it's not their fault. Okay? They did the best they could with the tools that they had at the time. But if you want to achieve your goals, are you modeling people's behavior, and is the leading and lagging indicators going to give you the result that you want? If not, maybe you need to measure, are these appropriate tools? Trust that they did the best they can. Verify whether it's appropriate for you. That's your health, that's your finances, whatever that is. So for me, I grew up in very loving parents, but not a template for what it takes to build a strong, affirming marriage. Alcoholism, all kinds of issues, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The question is are you going to use that as an excuse or as an explanation? They have this thing today, you're on it, it's called the interwebs. You can do the research to find solutions.
Mm-hmm.
I want to add in a fifth piece to this today, which was really where I wanted to go with this. Where everybody's got a piece of paper or something to write down. I want you to write down, where are you comfortable currently? What's the goal that you have? What's something you aspire to become in 2020? And where are you comfortable right now? Come up with 3 things that you're comfortable in your life right now. You don't have to worry about your grocery bill. You don't have to worry about gas or the cost of fuel, getting fuel. You don't have to worry about what? Where are you comfortable? You don't have to worry about your physical safety. How many of you would like to be in better physical condition, more energy, in some way, shape, or fashion?
Always improve.
How many of you are sitting in air conditioning right now? That's a comfort. That's a comfort in our Western civilization. In the Western world, air conditioning is a comfort that we're taking advantage of. If you're going to exercise, are you probably going to sweat?
Mm-hmm.
How much of your comforts are you taking for granted and are not giving you the leverage to become who you aspire to be? So where do you need to get uncomfortable in order for you to achieve these goals? Go ahead and write down 3 things where you need to get uncomfortable. Now, here's my suggestion for you. I have a video that you guys probably have seen at one time or another, perhaps, where it's all animated. It's really cool. It's one of the things I love doing. But it's got this guy in the world, and when we try to get outside of our comfort zone too quickly, too big, what happens?
We get back.
It snaps on you like a rubber band, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you guys ever try to shoot a rubber band and it goes, ah, that hurts. Too much growth too quickly, we contract rapidly. And so the reason that we're taking months to set our 2020 stage is so that you can grow a little bit and a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. So that that comfort zone becomes something that is resilient, something that you can continue to do without it infarctating on you. So that's going from survival to stability. And by doing that a little at a time, you will then achieve success. So where is comfort getting in the way? How many of you guys were like, crap, I didn't think about that, and this was kind of an eye-opener for you today? Or where you guys have questions, or you're like, yeah, but really don't want to give that one up. Floor's yours.
I think it is true what you're saying, that if you don't go through any kind of difficult experience, you won't learn a good lesson. You know, sometimes it's a difficult. I always find the greatest growth and the best things that have ever happened to me were after something really bad happened. You know, it was the bad thing that took me out of the comfort zone and caused me to do so. Allowed me to have the best things. And there is such a thing as getting too comfortable. If you get too comfortable, you can get too relaxed, too laid back, too lazy.
Yeah, so that thing that you thought was bad, how many of you guys have actually found that that thing that you labeled as bad was actually a blessing in disguise?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, maybe your Achilles heel being completely severed? How many of you in your relationships, after working your butt off all day, are comfortable saying, yeah, I'm just going to relax on the couch and I'm going to turn on my Hulu or Netflix or HBO or whatever streaming thing that you're doing, because it's more comfortable than actually connecting with a loved one, or going out and meeting somebody, or going and doing some kind of a walk or exercise of some sort. And you're using something else in your day as the excuse rather than the explanation, because I've been uncomfortable and exhausted all day. So where are any of you guys struggling? Where have you gotten a light bulb and went, wow, this really is going to make a difference because I just realized and made a connection somewhere?
I had a light bulb moment. I've been struggling the past few months, just looking ahead to goals and feeling kind of stuck with where I'm at, and wading through that and trying to figure that out. And I realized, Chad, I think you've been priming this for a while for me to realize anyways. But as you, basically.
Oh, a hug.
As you were sharing with the relationships, I realized there are so many things in my life that I've achieved, and I can look back on those. And there was a period of time where those were the ultimate things, and I thought, okay, once I get this, then I'll be happy. Once I get this, I'll be happy. And I had moved out of that, but as I've been looking ahead in these past few months, I realized, I've been putting a relationship and being married as that next thing, because that's something that, I haven't achieved or accomplished yet. And as we were talking in chat, as you were sharing that, when Al asked what's the, would you say the most difficult thing, the hardest thing that you've applied the needs to, it just made me shift that to realize that I need to be mindful that doesn't go back to being that ultimate thing anymore, that it's shifted from, once I get this, then I'll be happy and everything else will fall into place, because that's not it. Just like every other achievement that I've had, whether it's a gold medal or a scholarship or a job or whatever, there's still work that comes after it too. I'm still in that process, but it was just a good, another aha moment of kind of moving it emotionally for me.
Nice.
Chad, my aha moment this call was looking at the 6 human needs and then seeing where they are in order of what you're doing, and then looking at the vehicles and comparing. I hadn't thought of doing it that way. And what was really interesting is in the example that you gave of the assembly line, it wasn't the assembly line, it was the thing you were making. And it was the position. It was the same thing, but it was all you did was do like a 1 degree shift of what you were doing to then get into complete alignment.
Yeah.
And so that was a huge takeaway for me on this call.
Yeah, and we can do another great example of that is literally a vehicle. How many of you would be like super excited to have a plain Jane minivan? How many of you would be super excited to have the new Tesla Roadster that's about to be released? How many of you would be excited to have a Rolls Royce or Porsche or some kind of exotic vehicle?
There you go. Now you finally got to the right one, Porsche.
They all have 4 wheels. Bicycle does the same. Transportation, what's the difference?
One has air conditioning.
True.
Yeah. Chad, let me throw in a question here. Maybe it's related, but it's a little off topic. I think sometimes people in life have maybe what they call life block. Like writers might have writer's block. They have a hard time writing the next book that they want to write or whatever. They have some kind of block. Sometimes people have life block. Do you think in order to overcome life block, you have to have a lot of some kind of exercise or a lot of affirmations or cycling or some kind of movement in order to get people mentally in the right kind of can-do state before they can actually know the answer? They need to believe that they can do something or that the answer is available to them?
Depends on the strength of the purpose itself. So do you think that...
I mean, it's almost like, how do you get yourself, you think state is an important thing or attitude is an important thing?
It's critical.
Trying to go after, try to be clear on what's your purpose or the value of the purpose or leverage or all the things you do to get yourself rooted.
It's the strength of the purpose, Al. So it depends on what it is and how committed or important it is. It's all about leverage. So if I asked, how many of you would spend 1,200 hours learning how to be whether you agree with it or not, how many of you would spend 1,200 hours learning how to be a precise precision shooter? Handgun.
No.
No leverage, Al. Now, how many of you, if you knew a year from now, you will be put in a scenario of life and death of a loved one, and by training ahead of time, 1,200 hours, you'll be able to save that dear family member's life? How many of you are committed to spending that time in the next year? It's all about leverage, Al. Here's the problem that I see, and you guys are right in the midst of it. Yesterday, I hired a guy, a consultant, to help me with a roadblock that I keep on hitting again and again and again. I cannot get past this roadblock for this program. And the problem is identifying something that is giving enough leverage for people to go, I need Chad's program. I can tell you who the evil villain is. I can tell you the external pain and problem that people are suffering. The problem is internally, we are a society that is comfortable and has no thirst. Do you think that when the Jews were in the desert for 400 years, were they in the desert for 40 years, right? So we could take the Bible as an example. Between the Old Testament and the New Testament, there's a single page that you flip. That single page represents 400 years. From the Quran, in their high point to the transition, how many years went by? You think that if 400 years went by, you might be thirsty for some wisdom, for some knowledge? If you thought that you were in the desert for a week, do you think that you might be thirsty? You know why people give up 21 days into their New Year's goals? There's no thirst, people. There is no lack of need. All your wants and desires are pretty much met today. Hence why we have obesity a general malaise, a lack of a purposeful existence in our society today. And what I'm trying to do is help you realize that your desire for these material things are an illusion. They're just a symbol of the internal imprisonment that is going on. Externally, you're being told, buy this and all your hopes and dreams will be manifested. Get married and everything will be great. Except for historically, you get married and 3 out of 4 marriages collapse. Unless there is an economic downturn and you can't afford to get divorced. There's a statistic correlation there.
Yeah, marriage doesn't solve.
Guys, highest rate of suicide in the history of the world right now, over the last 50 years, highest rate of suicide. Do you think that there is an internal starvation for thirst that people are looking for?
Absolutely.
What are you thirsty for? That's what you should be focusing on in 2020. How do I communicate that to people? I don't know, man. I find it way easier to communicate that to Eastern Europe and to Central America and to developing parts of the world.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I can communicate that to the Bahamas right now that have been in total ruin.
Well, Chad, isn't that the whole point? It's like people don't turn to spirituality until the car is off the road, right? And then when the car is off the road and you're in the gravel and it's like your life's like this, you're like, okay, take the wheel. And then you take the wheel, you get on the road, everything's good. And then all of a sudden you think it's you and you're like, wait, I got this. And you start driving with one hand, drink coffee, you're back off the road and you're like, wait, take it back.
I wish it was that easy, Christiana. The problem is actually it's worse is people go, oh, I'm spiritual. And then suddenly all hell breaks loose and you're like, how's that spirituality going for you? How many of your spiritual friends have come to rescue you? What spiritual resources come to take you out of this suffering? They're using it as an excuse for not doing the work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I don't know how to popularize it. I wish I did.
Maybe it's too complicated to understand.
No, it's about thirst.
It's
So right now, I've got a concept, a thing that is just like blowing up right now for Eastern Europe. They are thirsty. Why? Because the leaders of the former Soviet Union, their culture, they have stepped down. The guard has changed. Now they went from a first world country in 1989 to third tier. They have worked their way back up, bless you, to second tier. And there is a massive thirst for leadership principles. And not only that, they also realize this has got to be taught in the universities to the next generation coming up, because the ministers, the people in charge, are in their 20s and 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And they know we don't want any of that Russian indoctrination. They're adamant, we don't want that. And I'm going, yeah, but this whole American university thing, you don't want that either. That's not the answer either.
We're
really thirsting for our character and values.
Mm-hmm.
But guys and gals, it's going to take you months to really get clear.
Mm-hmm.
What do you really want? Who do you want to become? What are the right vehicles and what are the vehicles that are going to lead you astray? What is the strength and the purpose, and how are you going to measure it? So that at the end of 2020, you're going, holy crap, this has been an amazing turnaround and an incredible year. But it takes time. If you're just coming on once a week on Thursdays for these calls, it's not enough.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be doing the work in between. This isn't a microwave. This is crock pot cooking. It takes time to simmer. Do the work between the calls. That's where real coaching is done. So I invite you to look at where are you really comfortable and slowly look at how you can get out of that comfort zone a little at a time and grow it and grow it and grow it to make your comfort bigger. This is one of the reasons why I go down to Central America. It's why I go to developing parts of the world, to remind myself of how good I have it. I get uncomfortable a little bit. And then I go home and eat a burger and take a shower and go, oh my gosh, that is. How many of you ever been somewhere that when you come back, you're like, I just want a burger. I know it's not good for me, but I just want some Americana, man. Or you take a shower and you're like, that is amazing. How many of you actually got up and took a shower today and you're like, oh, that is amazing? No, you don't, because you're comfortable. So do me a favor, guys. Contribute on the Facebook group. Talk. Share. You guys are smarter than me. Share. I need to learn from you. You need to learn from each other. Remember, this isn't just receiving. It's contributing beyond yourself. All right, that's it. That's all I got.
Chad, you're not using enough leverage on the Facebook thing.
I know.
I think you should charge a penalty for anybody who doesn't.
It's like the swear jar. It's the non-presence jar.
You guys come up with it. You guys tell me what would be good leverage.
I'm guilty, probably the most guilty, because I don't think I've only posted maybe twice. Same on me.
It's not like we haven't noticed. So no judgment. What do you guys need? So at the end of 2020, what would your hopes and dreams be that group on Facebook, that closed group, is able to represent? Because I'm this close, by the way, to opening it up to the public and allowing anybody to come in to see how awesome you guys are, to get a taste of this.
What I would like in the Facebook group is actually like post a question, like give an example, post a question so we can all say, oh, hey, this is how I apply that. Or so for me, it's the engagement. Like a static post where there's no engagement just doesn't work for my personality style.
So post a question like heroin or Coke. Is that what
No, but like, so I'll figure something out. I'll take a shot at it this week.
I'll tell you that I'm probably not going to be interested in questions. Honestly, it's just my time is so.
They
limited.
confuse him.
Yeah, you would. But I will tell you what I think was really useful, and is perhaps one of the things that we don't get enough of, only because your focus isn't on that. But it's one thing that I get from you on a huge scale, and that is specifically resources. Easy solutions that could dramatically change our lives. And probably, some of the most, impactful things that you've shared with me are specifically resources, not just mindset, not just psychology, but dramatically change how I do things. I mean, Ring Central is one of them. And perhaps if all of us start just sharing different resources, just like, hey, check this out. Temly is another one, which is phenomenal for me.
Yep. I'm happy to do so. Tell me what you guys are looking for, and if I have an answer, then I'll put it up there. See who else is like, yeah, that one sucks. This is better.
Yeah, so maybe what I'll start doing, just to wrap my part up, is that instead of me directly asking you, maybe I'll just post it on Facebook and see if somebody has a specific solution or a specific answer. I have a question that I'll be asking you later, but I'll just go ahead and post it on Facebook and use that, because I think that's one thing that probably, at least for me, is what I need most.
See, and for me, what I like the most about the Facebook group is when people are sharing like celebrations, for example, outside of the Thursday calls, and that comes into the engagement too, but of hearing like the successes that are happening or the little wins that are actually big wins, because to me, that keeps my momentum going. And I'm like, oh, cool. So
here's your goal, or your to-do is post what do you want to see, what do you want to get on the group.
Post that as a question, and then we can all engage on it.
No, one of you post it. You guys need to contribute. Don't wait for me. Don't use that as the excuse. The explanation is Chad's a lazy piece of crap and isn't going to do it. Okay? All right. With that, what, Al? What you got?
What was the tool that Brett mentioned called Temly?
Temly.
Resource. What is it called?
Temly.
Temly. Okay.
Post it.
I'll have to post it. I'm not going to tell you.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
All right. Awesome participation. Awesome job today. I'll see all of you next week. I want to see progress with what you guys, how your excitement. Come with one thing that you're really excited about for 2020 that you're working on. Everybody agree to that?
Yep.
Cool.
All right. And if you don't, you all owe $20 to Hassan.
Yep.
If Hassan doesn't have one, he owes $20 for each person to me. How do you guys like that?
I'd like it better if it was to me.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't work that way. Life's not fair. See y'all. Nice work.
Bye.
Bye.